All right, some breaking news to get to on this Wednesday, November 20th, as the Eagles prepare to take on the Los Angeles Rams in Week 12. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr., and that breaking news that we're going to dissect. Philadelphia Eagles edge rusher Bryce Huff undergoing surgery on his wrist this week. He is out indefinitely. A lot of thoughts on this. Who's going to replace him? What do the Eagles do from here? Some insight from Nick Sirianni on this injury, when it happened. It's all on the docket. But first, this is why you subscribe to the channel, ladies and gentlemen, because when breaking news happens, we cover it right here on Eagles Now. As you can see, we're on that march to 92,000 subscribers. We're running there like Saquon Barkley. So if you want shows every single day, be sure to lock us in and subscribe right now. Jeff McLane, Eagles insider for the Philadelphia Inquirer, breaking this news here on this Wednesday morning that Eagles edge rusher Bryce Huff will undergo a procedure on his wrist on Thursday per NFL sources. Nick Sirianni had a news conference today. He, of course, was asked about that and expanded on it, and he confirmed that report from McLane that Huff will undergo that surgical procedure. Said he's been playing through the injury over the last 2 games. We first heard about this going into the Jags game during pregame warmups. That's when Huff got injured, and the team said that something happened to his wrist during that warm-up session. The hope for one of the prized Philadelphia Eagles free agent targets this offseason is that Huff is going to be able to make it back at some point before the end of the year for a stretch run. But as of right now, definitively, he is going to be out indefinitely. The last 3 games, his snap counts have been very low. Of course, he hasn't been a great scheme fit for Vic Fangio. That's why in training camp and in the preseason, Fangio was a little bit iffy as far as Huff's usage, what he had said about the $17 million per year edge rusher who last year with the New York Jets accumulated 10 sacks. But this injury obviously hasn't helped his playing time. 6, 12, and 14 snaps over the last 3 ball games. And some of you out there might be saying to yourselves, you might already be in the comments section saying, Chase, what do you mean? This isn't bad news. The Eagles are going to be able to survive. Huff hasn't done anything. Well, he was starting to come on a little bit, especially coming off of the bye week. Prior to the bye week, the Eagles were using him as a stand-up edge rusher. It's not what he did with the New York Jets. He was always down in a 4-point stance, NASCAR type of get-off, and that helped him with some velocity, some speed at the snap. And he was able to get off the ball and get off the line of scrimmage in a much better way than how he was getting off the ball to start the year, and that's because Vic Fangio was using him to his strengths. He is not an outside linebacker, stand-up edge rusher who you want dropping back. And so he was starting to play a little bit better. He got this big deal, so you want your big money players on the field and developing. You don't want that money to go to waste. This, of course, impacts that. And it impacts your depth because now you're without an edge rusher who was contributing at least a decent level. Has he been a disappointment? No doubt about it, but his Pro Football Focus numbers actually aren't all that bad. 156 pass rush snaps. That's not what Howie Roseman was envisioning when he signed him to that deal and giving him $34 million in guaranteed money. Only 26 years old. You expect him to have a larger impact, but his overall Pro Football Focus grade right about league average, if not a little bit above league average. 68.9, run defense grade of 60.6. It's never been a strength, but he wasn't flunking in that category. A pass rush grade, not bad at 66.4. Now, in those 156 pass rush snaps, only 14 pressures, 2 sacks according to PFF. They don't count half sacks. 11 hurries, 6 stops, 1 forced fumble, only 1 quarterback hit, and 6 solo tackles. Definitely a mixed bag for Bryce Huff, no doubt about that. Here's what Sirianni said about him. He's really done a good job of battling through this, but this will hopefully help him get some more function in that hand. He's been playing with the club, by the way, over the last couple of weeks. Sirianni adding, we'll see as the season continues. I just can't say enough of how he battled through it and tried to keep going through it. Hopefully this does help him. Now, coming up next, who now has to step up for the Eagles? Who will get some more snaps? And with more snaps, will we see some positive developments from some young players on this Eagles roster. Stay tuned for that. Today's Eagles Now breaking news content sponsored by our friends at DraftKings, the best, most elite sports book in the game. Right now, when you bet $5, you get $200 instantly in bonus bets. All you have to do is use the code SixersChat. The Emirates NBA Cup is here. You can win big getting in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. All 30 teams split into 6 groups every Tuesday and Friday, playing for the right to advance in the single elimination in-season tourney, culminating in the NBA Cup Championship in Vegas. First time here, here's something special just for you. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook. Every point counts. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code SixersChat. That's code SixersChat for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/bball. And we look ahead to Sunday's game as the Eagles will be without Bryce Huff, of course. The Birds 3-point favorites on the road against the Los Angeles Rams. Over under 49.5. So the odds makers expecting some points to be scored between two of these good offenses. Odds and lines subject to change. And by the way, if you're like, why Sixers Chat? Why is that the code? Myself and producer Chip, we're from the Philadelphia area, baby. We're 4 for 4 Philadelphia sports fans. We have a 76ers channel under the Chat Sports umbrella. Be sure to check it out. It's called Philadelphia 76ers. Now, to the back half of the show here. Who steps up without the services of Bryce Huff? The Eagles have done a pretty good job of generating and applying pressure on the opposing quarterback, especially during the 6-game winning streak. They're doing that. They're forcing a lot of turnovers, 11 forced giveaways over the last 4 games for this Eagles team that during the 6-game winning streak is giving up less than 13 points per game. I really like how Josh Sweat has been able to rebound. He was not happy about getting that contract restructured. There was a moment where you thought maybe Howie Roseman was going to trade him. He had 6 sacks last year. He's responded to that down year in 2023 after 11 sacks in 2022 with 6 sacks already going into Week 12. Nolan Smith, he has really started to come on. 3.5 sacks over his last 5 games. When you turn on an Eagles game, it feels as though he's making an impact with that twitch, speed, and bend coming off the edge. Jalen Carter has been one of the more disruptive players at that defensive tackle spot across the NFL. Arguably a top 3 player at his position. Chris Jones, Dexter Lawrence, Jalen Carter. They're all in that category. And with Philadelphia being able to muddy up the pocket from the interior of that defensive line, it's really helped this defense a lot at that second and third level. Milton Williams, a rotational defensive tackle in a contract year. He has 3 sacks, working his way toward getting a nice little payday as a player who can maybe go elsewhere and be a starter for a defense. And then Brandon Graham with 2.5 sacks. So the top 5 players there in sacks for Philadelphia this year. Josh Sweat has played very well. And it's really great to see because the Eagles needed a really good 2024 from him. And you thought after last year, was he starting to regress a little bit? Edge rusher and getting pressure on the quarterback and sacking the quarterback was a big question mark for this team going into this year. And as John Gruden says, I don't care about pressures. Get the quarterback on the ground. Eagles have been able to do that. Last year they really couldn't, and that was after they had 70 sacks as a team during that Super Bowl run, 15 more than any squad. Josh Sweat was a part of that in 2022. He's been a part of the defensive turnaround in 2024. Brandon Graham, what can you say about him? 15 years in the NFL, and at 36 years old, he's still bringing it. He's been good against the run, good as far as a pass rusher. I know that he had said prior to the year this was going to be his last year, but then he kind of walked back on that a couple of weeks ago and he said, yeah, I think I might be able to play one more year. I might be able to keep my career going. If he goes out the way that he's been playing here this year, that's fine. He ends on a high note. If he comes back, a great team leader, a consummate pro, a team captain, and a Philadelphia legend always. I think with Bryce Huff going out, Nolan Smith is just going to get more snaps. I'm a big fan of that. I like his pursuit. I like his hustle, his speed. The attributes are there. He's a little bit of a smaller edge rusher. We knew that when he was coming out of Georgia. He's in that Haason Reddick type of build, 240 pounds. But like Reddick, speed, twitch, bend, able to really bend the edge. He's able to duck under some offensive tackles. That's how he got his sack last week. And I think that he can really become a player. He's still very young, 24 years old, coming up in January. And so with Huff being out, I'd give more snaps to Nolan Smith. And then lastly, more snaps to Jalyx Hunt, one of the draftees from this Eagles draft class at a Houston Christian who's fallen under the radar because of how great Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean have been. He's definitely going to be more a part of the rotation. He's been a part of that rotation more over the last couple of weeks. He's played 42 defensive snaps this year, a little bit on special teams. Sirianni giving Hunt a shout out on this Wednesday, saying we obviously drafted him because we liked his skill set. Jalyx has been doing a lot of good things on special teams. We'll see how those reps get divvied up, and this week will tell a lot. And we'll see what Vic Fangio, of course, wants to do as well. Jalyx Hunt is a player who's 23 years old. He was taken in the third round. That caught a lot of people by surprise, but his skill set, also an intriguing one. And I'm not just saying this because he wears the number 58, but like he does kind of have a similar build of Trent Cole, who also rocked that 58 and is an all-time Eagles great as well. Top 5 in team history in sacks. Are you worried about this Bryce Huff injury? I want to leave you with that question, and I want your voices to be heard.